Greetings folks, and welcome to another 8/16/32-bit. I'm Rob, and as you probably guessed from today's title, I'm looking at the Game Boy 2. Sorry, I mean the Bandai WonderSwan, which yes, you could very well refer to as the Game Boy 2.0. Now, why would you refer to it as the Game Boy 2.0? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first of those being that the Bandai WonderSwan was designed by the famous engineer Gunpei Yokoi after he left Nintendo when his Virtual Boy system had failed. Now, he set up his own company, Koto Laboratory, and Bandai then approached Yokoi to create the WonderSwan to be a competitor to the Game Boy. Now, Yokoi unfortunately died in 1997 before the system was released, but much of the work he did lived on in the WonderSwan, and this brings us on to the other reason why I would refer to this as Game Boy 2.0. The fact is, much like the Game Boy, the WonderSwan was designed and built using off-the-peg components. There was no custom hardware, everything was an off-the-shelf part, which helped keep the system's retail price down. The original WonderSwan launched for just 4,800 yen in Japan, which was cheaper than the Game Boy, cheaper than the Game Boy Color, the Game Gear, the Lynx, any other handheld that was on the market at the time. In 1999, the WonderSwan undercut it. Now, the WonderSwan did see a couple of updates later on in its life. A few months after its launch, the WonderSwan Color was done, and this was, much like the Game Boy Color, an update of the screen over the original hardware to give it a full colour screen. And further down the line, in 2002, the WonderSwan Crystal was launched, which was just a better screen basically. Now, the WonderSwan was not a massive success. It sold 3.5 million units in Japan, and it was only ever released in Japan. Now, approximately 1.5 million units of that were known to be the original WonderSwan, and at least 1.1 million were believed to be the WonderSwan Color, which would mean the remainder would have been made up of the Swan Crystal. Now, this off-the-peg hardware design, the CPU of the WonderSwan, unlike Nintendo's 8-bit Z80 variant in the Game Boy, was a 16-bit NEC V30MZ, which was actually a variant of the venerable Intel 8086. Now, the original model could display 8 shades of grey on its screen, which was 4 more than the Game Boy could. It had 2 sets of face buttons, which means you could turn it into Tate mode, so you could play some scrolling shooters in the correct orientation of portrait. And this whole system, with its 4 PCM channels of sound, which could play 32 sample 4-bit sounds, the screen's resolution of 224 by 144 pixels, and a dimension of 2.49 inches diagonal, this was a reasonably powerful piece of hardware, and it was powered by one single AA battery, which in the monochrome original would give 40 hours of battery life. That's ridiculous. This was a small, reasonably powerful handheld which used next to no power. Now, the WonderSwan Color was a slightly larger machine. The CPU was the same, which was clocked at 3.072 MHz, and it had 512 kilobits of RAM, which was shared between the video and the work RAM. The screen could display 241 colours out of a palette of 4096 and 28 sprites per line. This was superior to the Game Boy Color. The screen was also larger, being 2.9 inches this time, but the battery life was reduced to a mere 20 hours, although again, it was just a single AA battery. Now, the screen was upgraded from using an FSTN type screen to a TFT LCD screen, which helped reduce motion blur and gave the games a more pleasing visual aspect. This did bring the battery life down again to 15 hours, but again, it was a single battery. That's insane. Both the crystal and the colour were fully back compatible with the original monochrome version. Now, there was also some strange accessories that came out, such as the Wonder Witch, which was an official software development kit aimed at amateur programmers. There was a device to connect it to a PlayStation's Pocket Station memory card called the Wonder Wave, and you could also connect it to the internet by a mobile phone network. Now, the games, with this being a Japanese only system, are quite difficult to play for a lot of people. Now, some of the games, like puzzle games like Gunpei and Tetris, not a problem. It's a puzzle game. You can guess what you've got to do, pick it up, play. There are also a few arcade ports, such as Space Invaders. Don't really need to explain that to people. And the system did get some support from a couple of heavyweights in the form of Namco and Capcom and Squaresoft. Squaresoft did Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 4 as remakes, which were later ported over to the Game Boy Advance. And Namco and Capcom put a good few games out there for it. Most of the titles were published by Bandai, such as early titles in the Digimon series. There were Dragon Ball games. Bandai also produced a brilliant conversion of Golden Axe from the Sega game. Sammy bought 2 portable versions of its Guilty Gear franchise over to the WonderSwan. Mr. Drill was brought over by Namco. Rockman was brought over in a game by Capcom. There was some solid support behind this, but it just didn't quite take the market. The Game Boy market was just too strong, basically. It was a solid machine, but as I said, some good titles out there. Heck, you can even get a couple of versions of Densha de Go, the train simulator for this system, which to me sounds insane, but hey, people did it, people wanted it, and they're pretty good. Now, should this system have been released outside of Japan? I would say probably yes. It probably should have been released outside of Japan. I think with the right translations of the right titles, it would have been a success in the Western market. Certainly the Final Fantasy games could have helped carry it, and some of the other licenses, such as Beatmania, could have carried it. But ifs and buts, they don't count for anything. The WonderSwan did not hit a market outside of Japan, and that's a shame, because it's a small, powerful handheld that could have given the Game Boy a run for its money with the right marketing. But anyway, that's the WonderSwan, or the Game Boy 2.0. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget as well, if you pay special attention, you'll see I've launched YouTube memberships now because I'm a YouTube partner. So if you want to help the channel out, you can subscribe to a YouTube membership and help me out. They start off at just 99p. It's not a lot, it's once a month. I've also got the usual stuff on Patreon, etc. But if you like this video, hit like. If you really liked it, hit subscribe, and if you really liked it, ring the bell as well to be notified of when I do my next upload. Anyway, I'm Rob. This has been 8/16 32-bit, and I'll see you on the next video.